can't put a for sale sign in front of her house.
Why is there a sign here?
Nobody lives here anymore. Please, take that sign down.
Ma'am, is this still your home?
Yes, son, it's the only thing my husband left me.
Everyone thought the house had been abandoned. The grass had grown waist-high, the bushes covered half the windows, and the front walkway had almost disappeared. So one morning, a neighbor put a for sale sign right in the middle of the yard. But when I arrived to help clear the property, an elderly woman slowly opened the front door and whispered, "Please, take that sign down." I asked her if this was still her home. She looked at me and said, "Yes, son. It's the only thing my husband left me." Her name was Mrs. Ruth, and she had lived in that little house for almost 50 years. She and her husband, Thomas, bought it when they were newly married. It wasn't a big house, but they filled it with everything that mattered. Their children took their first steps in the living room. Their grandchildren played under the old oak tree in the backyard. Every Christmas, Thomas hung the same wooden wreath on the front door. And every spring, Ruth planted flowers along the walkway. But after Thomas passed away, everything changed. Ruth's health began to decline, and she could no longer push a mower, trim bushes, or climb the steps safely. At first, she hired a lawn service, but after a few months, the money became too tight. She stopped paying for the service and tried to do little things herself. She pulled a few weeds from the porch. She trimmed one small bush with a pair of scissors. But eventually, even that became too difficult. Month after month, the yard became more overgrown. Then one day, Ruth fell trying to reach the mailbox. After that, she barely went outside. She told me, "I started feeling like my own yard was keeping me prisoner." Meanwhile, the neighbors only saw what was happening from the street. They saw an unmaintained property. They saw weeds covering the walkway. They saw newspapers piling up near the door. And eventually, one neighbor decided the house must be abandoned. Without asking Ruth, he put up the for sale sign. Ruth told me she saw it from her bedroom window that morning. She said she cried because she thought someone was actually going to take her home away. Then she looked toward the backyard and said something I'll never forget. "My husband planted that tree when our daughter was born." I followed her gaze. Hidden behind the overgrown bushes was a large oak tree. Beneath it was a small wooden bench, almost completely covered by vines. Ruth said Thomas used to sit there every evening. When their daughter left for college, he waited on that bench for her to come home. When their grandchildren were born, he carved their initials into the underside. She hadn't been able to reach it in years. So I started clearing the yard. I cut the grass, opened the walkway, trimmed the bushes, and carefully pulled the vines away from the old bench. Underneath the weeds, I found some